Good morning, and welcome to Your Business in Digital. I am Tamara Moluwi. I am the founder of Monovan Digital Marketing Solutions, where we help businesses navigate the digital landscape. So excited to be here this morning. At Your Business in Digital, what we do is we help you translate to digital, right? What does that mean? We help you get to that place of money in the bank, help you get to that place of leveraging digital to be really efficient and effective, because we understand sometimes it's about the likes and the follows, and it kind of gets a little bit convoluted, right? We want to get you to that money in the bank, leveraging digital. So luckily for me, I am never here by myself. I'm always here with an amazing group of subject matter experts. I'm going to pass it over to Michelle. I'm like, y'all are mixing it up for me. To Michelle to introduce herself, and then the rest of the team. Thank you so much, Michelle. How are you this morning?
Happy Wednesday. And yes, this is a weird order. I wasn't, my brain is set to go in the next order. But welcome back. We are so happy to have you back for this show, Tamara. Welcome back. We missed you on Monday. Hello, everyone. I am Michelle Gordon with Lanyap Digital, and I am here to help you to convert your sales in a nutshell. I'm here to help you to find your price point and to find your little something extra that's going to set your business apart from the pack. Happy holidays. The Fearsome Four is back together for the final show of the year. Welcome in, and thank you all for listening and joining us on this fine Wednesday. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Andrea Ragu. I am your virtual CFO, and I help you make better financial decisions for your business. I am the voice of your money, and I help take your business to a place of sustainability, and I help you take it from a liability to being an asset. We're so happy that you guys are here for us. This is our final show in 2022. So we're very happy to be here, and welcome to the show.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. I am Michael Wilshire, Director of Business Development and Sales at Monovan Digital. We are always here to make sure that you're using your online presence to drive revenue for your business and that you're able to measure the impact of your efforts. Thanks for joining us this morning.
This is the final show for 2022. Could you imagine that? We've gone through so many shows. We've talked about so many things. I cannot believe that we're almost at the end of the year, but it's a good time. It's a good time for us to kind of pause, to reflect, and, think about, 2023 and what are the things that we need to be thinking about in our small businesses for 2023. I love the conversation. Even though I was sick on Monday, I listened to you guys. I watched you guys on my TV while I was laying on the couch, snuggled up, and I was like, I should be there with them. But it was such a good show on Monday, and I am so excited to pick up that conversation. And Mike, you did a great job of just kind of kicking the points forward, so we're going to pass it over to you to kick those points forward. Of course, let's make sure we can drop the link in the comments here as well, so people can get to it and take a look at it. I see that you have it on Clubhouse already, but the top marketing trends for 2023 and how they've changed since 2022. So I love these points. Where'd you guys get to on Monday?
We got to as far as, I think, point number 7, I think, align marketing and sales teams will win. So, just to recap what we covered on Monday, we talked about social media as a customer service tool. That was an interesting part of the conversation. We talked about leveraging SEO, social responsibility as a business, showing up socially responsible, and they had specific areas that they recommended as well. We talked about aligned sales and marketing teams. So we went further. It's like, that's why we're even here this morning, right? We are talking alignment of these teams and these silos, and that's as far as we got, and there's still more to go. So this is a really big and in-depth report coming out of HubSpot that we're just going to continue down the road this morning with some of the stuff that we didn't get to as well, right? Awesome. So any thoughts on any of those points that I mentioned, Tamara? Because I know you were chomping at the bit on Monday.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think one of the most important ones, and you talked about it, is that alignment in sales and marketing, right? We want to talk about that alignment of sales, marketing, finance, and operations. That alignment is so key. If you're wearing all the hats in your business, you want to, as you put each hat on, you want to make sure that you're aligned. And if you're not wearing all the hats in the business, and there are other folks, you want to make sure that there's alignment, because that's really how you get buy buy-in, and digital has the metrics. The metrics and the data is there to support it, right? Finance can get buy-in to it. Sales can buy into it. So you really want to make sure that those parties are aligned, because it can only really help the business. I think since we've been doing this, we've all had a different perspective, and it's given me, for sure, as a marketer, it's given me the confidence to say, hey, you know what, Andrea believes in this, she sees the value in it. Michelle believes in this, she understands how to really help. So the marketing becomes a little bit better, it becomes smarter, and having buy-in from everyone. You don't, when you go back with the results, people are like, yes, we know how it happened, we know how it got there. So I think that's really important. The customer service side of things is also another factor that I think is going to be a big one, right? As we move through 2023, wherever we land, whether it's the R word, recession, or not. Mike, I know you didn't want to say it on Monday because you're like, it's the holidays. I'm like, whatever. I was just like, but wherever we net out, we want to make sure that, customers have a choice. Your customers, they have other choices. Be aware of it, especially in the digital landscape. There are other choices, and they can make those other choices. So you have to really consider that after sales process as really an important factor in your business, right? You can't just sell. And many of the times we're looking at the marketing, we're looking at the operations, and we're looking at the sale. But what happens after the sale, right? What is that journey like after the sale? If there's a problem, how are you educating them? How are you making them advocates for your brand? Because that's where really the real work really comes in. That's what you need to lean into. So those 2 points for me, all the other points were great, but those 2 points for me really stood out the most. So that's my 9 cents.
See why it's so good to have you back on the show on a Monday and Wednesday. I was like, what days? Oh, it's
Right.
coming so close.
For sure.
Yes, really in-depth article. And as you said, we talked about that customer service side and social media being the go-to, using DMs to perform that customer service. And as you said, we spend a lot of effort to attract customers, and then what, right? They bought, and then what? And as we know, it's easy for them. We talked about that it's easy for them to go from your loudest advocate to your loudest detractor, right? So that's why it's important to look at that after sales funnel as well, right? That after sales process as well, and see how are you supporting your customers. We talked about things like your FAQ pages and so on that make it easier, and how you would add in a little bit of automation into that process as well. So this morning we just carrying on, right? So 2023 around the corner, literally. Oh my goodness. So let's see what the next topic is. And this is where we stopped. And I was like, this is a good one. But experiential marketing could make a comeback. And experiential marketing campaigns enable audiences to step into an immersive experience that is often a physical space or via an AR or VR platform. Now, what I thought about when I read this was the Bridgerton experience, right? And this was literally an experience created that drove people to become marketers for the show. Because while it was an event and you had, all the immersive experience of Bridgerton, the show, they provided a lot of set pieces for you to take your pictures with your friends, etc. And what are you going to do? You're going to be posting and hashtagging Bridgerton. So that experiential marketing, they're saying, could see a comeback. Immersive experiences before were fun, and there's also that cost of AR and VR wear coming down, because that's no longer out of reach for the mainstream as well. So that's that point. I'll let everybody chime in on what their thoughts are, but experiential marketing is what they're saying could be a comeback. Tamara, I know you talk ad nauseum about creating experiences in your marketing. So I'll kick it right back to you first.
Oh my God. Like, give me a break. No. Listen, I think it's important to have that immersive experience. Now, while that talks about AR and VR, right? Let's talk about a smaller business who's like, all right, cool. How am I even incorporating that? Maybe take a step back. If you can't incorporate the AR and VR, how do you also create the full experience, right? How do you make people get an experience. And it's really about thinking through that customer journey and making sure if you're running an ad, what does that feel like? How are they engaging with it? When they get over to your website, what does that feel like? Do they feel like they've come into this place where there's an experience? They're experiencing you, they're experiencing the brand, the product, whatever the case may be, right? So finding ways, if you can't leverage the AR and VR tools, to create an experience that actually makes sense. And as Michael said, what they did with Bridgerton, and the fact that you didn't tell everyone that you're a fan. You just kind of like slipped over that. Like,
am I not supposed to be a fan? Or is it strange that I'm a fan?
It's just always fun to me when you're fans of things like that, right? So I'm like, okay. But also making people marketers for you, right? So how do you learn to make people marketers for you? And one of the things about the experience is that you make it about the customer, right? That's what the experience was about. The experience was really about the customer and them seeing themselves, right? Because when we're buying something, we're really just about me, 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 me. So how do you leverage that to then get them to post for you, for them to share more information? How do you make it so much about them and that experience? So think through that. If you don't have the AR and VR tools, if you have the AR and VR tools, then definitely go for it. Make sure it's an immersive experience. But I think as small businesses, we can find little ways that we can do that as well, that can still create a full experience and get people to become advocates for your brand.
Absolutely. And before everybody else chimes in on their points, so the Bridgerton experience, thanks for bringing that up. Where that experience really started for me was email, right? So it was an ad to email, and they had a really robust email experience that answered every question, that literally kind of put you in a mental place of, oh, this is what it's going to be like. They really ramped up the interest through email. And that sourced, as far as I could tell, whether they were even going to have the event in Toronto or not, right? So they gauged interest before they actually announced where the event. So you were actually signing up. Your first step was to sign up for a wait list. But it was a really good email strategy that really drove the start of that experience. Go ahead, Michelle.
I think about, well, one, I'm just still utterly fascinated that you were so into Bridgerton that you would actually dress up and go. And it gave me a whole different view of you, Michael. So, we go from the guy that is on, a beach and in the air on the flywheel thing or whatever you call it, to Mr. Bridgerton with, the whole period experience. I was very fascinated by that. So thank you very much for giving us that full view of Mr. Michael Wilshire. I enjoyed that. Thank you very much. But I think you're right. I remember when you told us about that experience and how they kind of, I don't want to say sucked you in, but they kind of just pulled you in over the course of time to build the anticipation, know, like, trust. So they were educating you on it. They were giving you the FAQs that you needed to remain engaged. They were giving information to give you the visual that you wanted, and kept just pulling you in so that you couldn't say no to going in. And then once you got in there, they made it a whole, social viral moment for you and made it easy for you to share. I thought that was utterly fascinating, and how they just brought you through the entire experience. So I think that was a perfect example of being in the external world and doing it. In the internal world, one of the things that we talked about once before is a small way that brands are doing it, especially in the COVID world. I think about Warby Parker and their eyeglasses, and how you can have that experience and trying that on. A couple of the home stores where you can upload a visual of your room and put a piece of furniture in your room to help to let you see what it feels like in your home. And we talked about it in our spaces, and how do we make that experience a bit better. And one of the suggestions that Tamara gave to me was to make a video to show someone how to fill out my calculator. So to bring them in, get them a bit more comfortable. And as you said, in what I call the continuum of things, when we're doing that and getting our clients, from prospects to customers and clients to advocates for us, where they're promoting and being a bit of an evangelist for us and helping to push our business forward, then they remain in our cycle, not just as a client, but someone that's going to refer, and then someone that may potentially remain in our circle and upsell and begin to be more invested into your company. So I'm all on board with the experiential thing, but we all as consumers have to figure out a way to make that work, like Tamara said, in our own environment in a comfortable way that may be cost effective for you as well, because I'm sure that's what Ms. Andrea is going through next.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love the fact that Michael is so into this, Bridgerton. And I would like to say, so based on how he described it, it's almost like, they romanced you and courted you as they do, as they do on this show. They romanced you and courted
Yes,
you. Right.
absolutely.
So you all had a nice little courtship, and you all what did they say? Went for a walk on the boardwalk, the parade, promenade. You all did a nice little promenade, and you all came together. But what I'm so me, I always wear the two hats: business owner and CFO. As a business owner, I'm thinking, oh gosh, like, how do I do this? Which is what we're saying. We're trying for business owners to apply this to their own business. I'm a service-based business, so immediately I'm thinking, well, I don't really have what could I do in VR to experience? How do you experience a financial statement? How do you experience, a document? But I guess that's where the creativity has to come in. Michelle just described probably showing somebody how to complete something, would help with that aspect of it. So as a business owner, I think you have to get creative with how you're going to do it. As a CFO, from the financial perspective, what I'm seeing is definitely there's a shift. There's a shift in where the marketing dollars have to spend, and we're going beyond just take a sample of a product, right? We're going beyond that traditional, because that's the from my understanding, traditional marketing where you experience a product. You'd usually experience it through a sample, a physical product. You would have to, they would give it to you in the store. You may take it home. You may use it. You may eat it right away. We're definitely talking about moving beyond that and trying this different way for your customer to experience your product. And that may cost more than what you were accustomed to, right? In the initial outlay, if it is you're trying to do a VR experience, or even if you're trying to do an in-person experience, as Michael had. But it is definitely going to require a shift in thinking about how to spend the money, because the traditional spend would have been, well, I'll just run some samples, right? So maybe I always love to use the example of the baker. The baker might just be easy for the baker to give away some free cookies for them to taste, but maybe they have to be more creative and say, well, maybe I do a video showing people how I do it, how I actually make the cookies, so that people can experience the making of it. So it just requires a shift in thinking about where the marketing dollars is going to be spent. And I think for finance people, though, that might be a little bit different for them to swallow. That pill might be a little bit different for them to swallow, to be able to see, well, why do we need all of that? I could hear other finance people saying, because in my mind initially I went, well, why do we need all of that, right? But again, this is why we're here, to bring all these different parts together and to try to, promote the use of digital. So that's my 2 cents.
Andrea, I wanted to add to something that you were saying there, and to talk about experience in a different way for people like us that are service providers, because it can be difficult to understand not just pre-sale, but remember, one of the things that we've always been talking about is some of the most important things that you do are actually after someone commits to you, right? After they commit the business to you, and then trying to communicate and ensure that they're understanding, things remain sticky, they remain engaged as we keep going through. One of the things that I found really fascinating, and I actually got not almost off track, but it became an experience for me. And it was something that I won't say it was free, but it came with the purchase of something that I did in Zoom and using the whiteboard to help to explain something. And it became a very interactive session with my client that I started using again because we started thinking aloud and bullet pointing the things that we were doing on the whiteboard and sharing the information, and they were active in it and putting their thoughts in there as well. So it became not just something that we both could visually see and they could understand and it was tangible to them, but it was also a great leave behind because that went along with the video recording that came with it. It was something they could refer to. And I think about you guys in Monovan, how early on you were doing, as part of what you're doing is recording the information and the proposal or what the next steps were. And that was a great leap behind. And I thought that was a fine experience that was something tangible, that was memorable, that someone could visualize and then tell to the next person. And I was like, wow, this is fascinating. I can actually do this. It wasn't something that was so difficult. It came natural to me too. It was just a natural part of how we do things. And I think if we all lean into that a little bit and not say, well, I got to do everything everybody else is doing, which we, another, dancing TikTok trend or something like that, I think it would be a little easier for us if we just embrace something that's naturally in our our wheelhouse.
Correct, absolutely. And I just can't get over that you all are so taken that I'm taken with Bridgerton, right? So I will, before I move on, just to satisfy those minds out there, that's Bridgerton. Are you seeing my screen? Oh man, sorry. Then I guess you don't get to see it today.
Folks, we will vouch.
You gotta
Folks,
see it.
we will vouch. Oh, there we go. I'm not gonna say we're gonna have to vouch that we saw it.
Look at that.
So
yes, it was very much an experience, and I was very much, Andre, use the right words. They used email to romance me, right? I want to be clear about that. And just coming back to experience, that's just to talk about experience for a minute. As much as you might think you're in the service industry, finance, sales, there's always an experience that a customer is looking for. There's always something that they're looking for in terms of that process being easy, being palatable, being easy to continue down the road with that person. So when we say experiential, I think we just need to broaden our thinking into what is it that my customer really wants out of this experience. For example, I have had 2 travel agent experiences, which I just felt wasn't the travel agent experience that I needed to get, right? And you might say as a travel agent, well, what do you mean experience? Well, experience means that you've given me a good few options. You've given me good time to consider those options. You've given me all the parameters around that. So imagine that happening in email or happening in DMs, right? So this is where things become digital. So very much about experience and looking to see what does your customer want to feel while they go through your funnel, right? So that was the Bridgerton excerpt, and we'll move right on to the next point, which is...
And before you do, I'm just going to put a period at the end of the sentence. People, this is selling. This is selling. It is selling. So you think you're not a salesperson, you think you're unable to sell. What we just talked about for the last 10 minutes or so is complete selling.
Correct, absolutely. So that takes us to the next point in this big report. More brands will test out native ads. Sorry, let me just unmute. More brands will test out native ads. This year, almost a quarter of marketers plan to leverage native ads for the first time, and we predict this number will continue to grow in 2023. Why the growing interest in this strategy? Well, it works. Of the marketers who use native ads, more than 36% say it's effective, while nearly 50% say it's their top ROI generating tactic. And what do we mean by native ad? When your brand pays to feature content on a third-party website, you're investing in native advertising. So unlike traditional advertising, which is designed to interrupt, native advertising is designed to blend in and promote your brand to a new audience who might otherwise never learn about you. Because they don't feel like traditional ads, consumers are more likely to consume them. In fact, consumers view native ads over 50% more than banner ads. So yeah, I heard it from Tamara. Even with the music, I heard it. You know when you've caught a marketer on something. Tamara, what are your thoughts? Native
No, I
ads.
mean, I think native ads are important, right? And so when we talk about native ads, what we're talking about ads that are, Facebook ads, I assume are native ads. When you're on Facebook and they appear in your feed in the right way and it doesn't disrupt what you're doing and it makes you feel as though it's a part of your content. I think, yeah, that's really important. We spend a lot of time running advertising for our customers, and that's where we see people click, people engage. So I think it's an important part of the strategy. And I always like to consider advertising. You should have a budget for advertising. It gives you a lot of data, it gives you a lot of information, and it gets you in front of your potential target audience almost right away. We're running some ads right now, and what we're looking at is we're looking to understand, first and foremost, is this the right target audience? Are we in the right places? Are we in the right countries? And then from there, what we'll start to look at is to understand, are people clicking? What are they engaged with? What products are they engaged with first? So it's really important, and you should have a budget for native advertising. Again, it's a quick way to get you in front of those people. And one of the things with ads is that it's the visibility game, right? Because what we need to do sometimes when we're looking to increase our revenue, when we're looking to increase following, whatever it is, we need to get in front of more of the right people. And advertising allows you to do that, to get in front of more of the right people quickly. Sometimes when we're thinking about getting in front of those people, we don't necessarily know how to do that, right? So we want to move, it allows us to move outside of that space that we're in. We might just be on our social media platforms talking to 5% of those 1,000 people that follow us, right? Talking to, maybe a portion of our email database. With these ads, it gets us in front of more people that look like our target audience that we may have never come in contact with before. So that's the benefit there.
I think, they used to irritate me. It's like they used to irritate me, and then I could tell when the platforms were becoming smarter about how they were placing it in front of my face, because either one, I got numb to it and I just mentally accept it, like, well, they're never going away, and I can either just scroll past it, or they became subtle in how they put it in front of me. But on the other side of it, I'm part of the 50% of the consumers that they're talking about in here, where it reminder, it takes 7 to 10 touch points before somebody buys from you, right? It takes I want to say somewhere like 3 to 5 or somewhere like that. If you are a buyer and you need to talk to someone, it takes you 3 to 5 before they do the initial engagement with you. So we need to see things a lot because we're not trusting. It's basically what marketers have found out, that we don't trust. And we got to see you a lot. You better tell us who you are before you do it, but you better serve it. Like, what's so demanding? You better serve it up to me in a way that doesn't piss me off as well. Like the pop-up ads, those are not native. Those are disruptors, like Emma was saying. But I'm one of the buyers too, because they've served it up to me. And I can't begin to tell you how many times I've purchased something from a Facebook ad, that became as a result of remarketing of some fashion, because I've said something or clicked on something and it served it up to me, and served up to me something that I've never seen before too, that is of the ilk of something that I like in a place that I'm visiting. So I'm learning to appreciate it a bit more. And from this side of the table, I should be appreciating it, a whole lot more. But it is, I think, worthy if we start taking our brains out of, our entrepreneurial head, and just as an average consumer, how many times are we clicking on something that we see in an Instagram ad or a Facebook ad, or now that we've seen it on TikTok, we're now searching for it, and then it suddenly appears in your feed. That's not sudden. That's all marketing. That's behind the scenes in the algorithms that's taking care of that for us. So embrace it, people, because it's not going away. Just get over it.
That's the end of it. Embrace it. And it's so true. I've seen on IG especially, TikTok catches me all the time, but IG especially, I've seen where things have come up in my feed that it takes me a minute to realize that's not something I'm following. It's an ad, right? And I've absolutely clicked through, and that's discovery. That's literal discovery, right? So Andre, your thoughts? Oh, I saw that. I saw that. We're going back there, Bridgerton. Uh, most welcome, and
Some of the comments, right? We have some comments. So Andal is saying, love the Bridgerton experience analogy. And then also pop-up ads are indeed annoying and most times irrelevant. Why? Right? So that's what we're talking.
Co-signing on that, Andal. Co-signing on the pop-up. Go away.
Yeah, I myself, I'm with Michelle on this one. I find them annoying as a user, to be quite honest. And I find them very spooky because I swear sometimes I may have just said a word a couple times in talking to someone, and then all of a sudden it's all up in my feed. And, it gets me kind of off. It makes me feel weird. But I mean, I see the benefit from a business perspective, but as a consumer, I feel like it's a thin line between being useful and annoying. So there's a thin line there, and I think um, as a business owner, you need to find that sweet. If you are to make this work for you, and if you are to make this money make it make sense, there's a thin line and there's a gray area that you probably just that sweet spot that you probably have to find in order for you to not come across as annoying, as I said, and come across and make it work. Because if it's annoying, it means wasted money, I guess, because you won't get the return. That's where my concern would lie.
and absolutely. And when we're talking native ads, so the real crux of the matter here is that the ad doesn't stand out. So the first choice that you're making is where do you want the ad to appear, so that the ad does not stick out as a sore thumb, as something that's interruptive, as something that's annoying. That's the point, that when we're saying native, that it looks the same, it blends in. So that first business choice you're making is where do you need it to appear. And I know Tamara can speak more to that in detail, but that's a whole other conversation with ads, going down that road into ads. But when we think of native ads and that native ad strategy, you're really looking at something that blends in. So it's not something, you're not looking to produce this high quality ad that stands out, that Hugo Boss type look. You're looking to create something that literally, I didn't notice I was looking at an ad. I clicked through because it was just content that came across my feed that was relevant to me, that was interesting to me, and just did not stand out, came very naturally as an ad. So another example I'll give in that is, I've seen one content creator here in Canada being taken up by one of the largest gas station chains. And in his feed, you didn't realize you were looking at, say, a Canadian Tire ad, right? Because it blended so seamlessly. But so think of it the same way you think about influencer strategy, where it has to match with your brand as well. Right? So that's native ads, and that pushes us right into the next point. And that's that blogging isn't going anywhere. Blogging has been commonly used since brands started building their websites. But the age of this tactic shouldn't be a sign that it's out of date. In fact, it's been used for so long simply because it works. On top of that, research suggests that most consumers read blogs multiple times per week and have purchased something from a brand after reading the company's blog. Ultimately, sites with robust blogs have more search potential and can implement SEO strategies much easier than sites that don't. So blogging continues to be, that top tier strategy that will provide results. Operationally, you want to have your content structure, what are your content pillars, what are you writing about, how often are you doing that blog, right? How often is this, so that gets into a production mode. I will definitely not go into all the things about the blog, because Tamara has to give her sense, Michelle has to give her part, and Andre has to give a part. But I know one of the main things is, how am I going to write all of this? Well, you're going to lean on AI for what, right? That's my first answer. Lean on AI to develop that content. But definitely have some type of production schedule where you'll say, listen, this is the day I do my research. This is the day I start to do my writing. And then this is the day that I finally post that content. Then on top of that, how is this content now become a centerpiece, this blog piece become a centerpiece that can be cut up into smaller bits of content that still drive back to that same blog article, right? So we are really marketing this morning. So blogging isn't going anywhere. Tamara, chime in.
Yeah, no, it's not. And easy ways to blog, right? So this, for instance, could be an entire blog right here, taking the show, transcribing the show, finding the key points, and then writing about those points. So the transcription itself could be something that could become a blog. So finding easy ways to do it. And then, as Michael talked about, is connecting it back to your SEO, right? It gives you a lot of real estate in search. So if you understand your core keywords, the keywords that you're going after, this is a great way for you to have that real estate in search, right? So more visibility within search. And then this is how people will find you, right? Also, don't forget to connect videos and connect images back into your blogs, right? Things like infographics are great as well too, because people also search for videos. They're also looking for infographics. They search images on Google. So I think blogs are a really great way. And then the other thing it does is that it really helps you to establish yourself as a subject matter expert. So when people see that you're writing a blog, they're like, all right, this person really knows what they're talking about. So there's definitely some opportunity there. But spend the time figuring out what's the value to you. And what Michael talked about is that production schedule. Because if you're writing a blog and I'm releasing a blog article once a month, you want to keep to that schedule, right? You really want to get to a place where you're keeping to that schedule, because keep in mind that there's an audience out there that may be waiting to read your blog, along with finding those new audiences. So I think, yeah, it's an important part of a strategy, and I love the idea of it. We've started one, and we need to kind of go back into it and say, okay, consistently, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? And then really manage that, because I think there's value. We've even been working with one of our customers to take their articles, what they're doing, and push it out. And we've seen some great value with them ranking higher for more keywords, based on some of those, based on the blogging strategy. So getting that visibility, and it helps you to distribute your content, right? One of the things we sometimes struggle with as businesses is getting that content distributed in a way, so making sure that more people can see it. We're sometimes it's a one and done for us. We have a piece of content and we're like, all right, cool, my 10 followers saw it. Blogs give you more opportunity for more people who are potentially searching for you to see that content. So I'm glad it's still a good strategy and something that we definitely want to follow for 2023.
I think it's interesting too, in that I've been on struggle bus with that one. I have in my OneNote, I think probably about 25 or 30 different topics that I want to pull a thread on, and sitting down and finding the time or staying on course has been a struggle, and deciding what I want to do, and then overthinking things, as I typically do, and just overthinking it. And I think, Tamara, one day you netted it down to its least common denominator for me. And you were like, Michelle, get over it. You already have so much content. You can take all of these things that we covered today, and each one of these is an article for you. That's a blog article for you. Take it and do it as a video, make it a vlog instead of a blog, or do a combination of both. And you have content for your website. You have content to put in as an omni-channel thing, and it will remain relevant because the topic is a salient point that we've been talking about over and over again. So why are you overthinking this process? Now, I will say too, I told Michael, I think last week when we were talking about just do it, and I was like, it ain't that easy, Mike. It's not that easy. I have a good 50 blooper rolls that I kept on my phone for one of the videos that I posted. It might seem really simple for just do 60 seconds, but it took me 2 hours to do the 60 seconds because I overthought the process. So it's just, it's get somebody to help you and give you a reality check, but it's important to do it and to stick to a schedule and to find your space and your lane that's good for you. And I'm getting a bit more comfortable with it, but it's worthy of our time, and it becomes easier over time.
Michelle, I think we should start a support group. I'm there with you with the overthinking. I'm there with you. That has been my problem that has been plaguing me, that's why sometimes I can't show up, is because I overthink. And Tamara, of course, has told me the same thing. Andrea, you have lots of content. I go, where? Like what? And then she starts to, but you have this and you have this, and this could be a blog and this, and then you cut it up, and I just go, okay. But so yeah, I think we should start a support group, and I'm gonna put it out there for all entrepreneurs like myself who are overthinking their content. Yeah, you could join us and we could have a meeting and help each other. But what I would say is blogging. I like blogging because when I initially started the business and stuff, writing has always been, even before this business, maybe I should take it a step back. I have always liked to write. So I always feel comfortable in writing, even in my corporate space. Writing a report came very easy to me. If you tell me, could you document this? I'm on it. And I think it's because of my training coming through my professional space, having to write things like audit matters, even all that way back when, describing a accounting issue and how you resolve it. So it comes naturally to me. So the only problem is, of course, because of the overthinking, I don't get anything done. So, and I don't have the time and all those sort of things. But I do like blogging. And that is one of my goals for 2023, to try to get back into the blogging and trying to create that space, because especially for an area like what I do, that technical space, I think people like to read a lot about it. It involves a lot of research, and I more than ever have to demonstrate the authority that I am, right? To say, well, I know what I'm talking about, and here's why. And the only way they could see it is, by being able to probably read something and say, oh yeah, this makes sense. The way she explains it, it makes sense. They probably save it, they print it, they come back to it, because I've done it as a user as well. I've saved articles and say, oh, this was really good. I'm going to come back to it. And I go back and I read it and I was like, oh, this is, this was informative. I learned something. So I definitely support, blogging being part of your marketing. I personally, like I said, is something I like to do. I'm very comfortable in writing. I just hope I could get the time and stop overthinking to maximize it.
And let's think about that, right? We're saying writing, and we can actually do voice to text, right? We can. So there's some things that, because of what you're actually doing, that's become the overthink. I don't want to type. I don't know what to type.
Right.
Sit down and use the audio. Tamara's done that for like 2 years or more now. Like she's mastered that. I still am somewhere in between. I do half and half, but there are ways around it. And I think maybe you hit on an idea. Maybe we'll do a content, some kind of content bonanza, something.
Oh wow!
Full
content bonanza situation.
Get your content done.
This is the second
now,
thing. This is
right?
This is the second thing that second job he's given us. But I like it. Great content ideas. But I think you're right. So I think one of the things about blogs is that we also think it needs to be super long, right? Let's get to 7 points. I love a good 7 points. For those of you that know the top 7 digital marketing trends at 7 a.m. 7 points. Highlight those 7 points. We also talk about people don't read a lot, right? So sometimes people read and sometimes they don't read. If they're interested in the content, they read, right? So they start off skimming. If interested in them, they go a little bit deeper. But consider maybe 7 points, and then each one of those points becoming a paragraph or something that you go into explain a little bit more, so that the 7 points can stand on their own, and then you can kind of go into a little bit more detail about each point. 10 points, whatever your thing is, right? Finding ways to make it as simple as possible. And the other thing is, don't overthink it. What you think is one piece of content is probably 9 times out of 10 times about 10 pieces of content, right? It's that one thing that you go in, you explain, and then you walk people through the steps, adding in a little bit of a how-to video, how to get this done, right? People want content that they can engage with, that they can say, hey, this takes me to another level of understanding, right? So it's maybe the definition, then the how do you do it. So really simplifying it for yourself. And as you're pulling together your outline, outline to write the blog, you want to think about what are the 4 things that 2 or 3, or maybe even just up to 4 things that they're going to walk away with from this. What do I want them to do? Because then the rest of it becomes the rest of the blog, or the next the next blog post. So people don't want to, you can't give them a lot of things to accomplish in one time, right? So you want to be able to say, what is the one thing that they'll be able to do with these 7 points when they're done here? So really, really simplify. And again, you have more content. I believe everybody is content rich, especially everyone here. And content rich because you talk about things all the time. You've all done the top 7 and 7 show. So you've all come together with 7 points, maybe over an entire year. Go back to all of that and start looking at it to see, well, what's the content? What am I saying here? What's my, also connecting your talk track to it. What are the things that you talk about all the time? Right? What are the things that make people perk up? Those are the things that you need to write about and make sure that your keywords are incorporated in there. It's actually way easier than you think. And yes, in 2023, our goal is let's stop overthinking stuff. Okay. Let's just stop overthinking. There's no point to overthinking. We do not need a support group for overthinkers. Don't overthink it. Just really lean into it and create that content because you are already creating it. You're already thinking about it. And when you're overthinking, just see if there are any other points in there. You're like, oh, that's blog 2, 3, 4, and 5.
And that runs us right into the next point. So as we're talking blogging, the next point is case studies will continue to drive leads and brand credibility. So longer form case studies offer prospects an incredibly deep and exclusive look into how people or brands benefit from a product or service or strategy. And while some businesses place them publicly on their web pages to persuade a potential buyer as quickly as possible, others might offer them as free PDFs that require a lead conversion to be downloaded. So although that doesn't happen so much in B2C, it definitely is in B2B. And additionally, case study usage in content marketing is only growing. 37% of marketers plan to use case studies in their marketing strategy for the first time next year. So that marries right there with that blog discussion, and especially in that service industry. Case studies offer that look at how you deliver your service, right? How you address problems, how do you work with people? All of those things can happen by portraying a case study. And a case study gives something relatable for your leads, right? That's the main thing with a case study. Can I relate to this case that they're putting forward? Is this a representation of me in some form, right? Of my business in some form? So case studies, that's right after blogging. So there's one of your blog ideas there is to look at just doing case studies, right? Andrea, I could see you doing financial case studies of all sorts, similarly, Michelle, sales and pricing, case studies, right? What to do when you are in this situation versus this situation. And all of this helps to build that brand awareness and brand authority as well. So that's the next point. And I think that marries well with the previous point of blogging isn't going anywhere. Tamara, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think case studies are smart. I think we didn't get a chance to lean into them the way we should have last year, but I think it's something that we could definitely do a lot better with this year. Case studies also show results for businesses, right? It also shows that, hey, you get the results done. And I think that's important. I think especially for service-based businesses, we need to be able to show results. And people want to see that. And sometimes we may not spend enough time doing that. We may spend more time pontificating and talking about the process. But for your customer, if your customer can see that this person that you worked with that looks just like them, that feels just like them, that they can connect with, they were able to get to this result and move forward. I think that could be helpful. When we talk case studies, we're not asking you to be scientific overly. A case study could be a video case study, right? So also think about the right format, the format that works for you. A case study can be a combination of a document and a video, right? Things that go together hand in hand. So think about your customers and think about how maybe taking something that could be a great review for you and turning that into a case study. So you're building upon content that is really, really simple. And then really having some clear points, right? Here was the objective. Here's what we tried to accomplish. really clear points and what happened, what was the result out of it. And yeah, and then letting that voice speak for you, I think could be game changing. And it shows that you are able to be effective and drive those results. So I think case studies is something, as I sit here and I hear this list, I'm like, okay, great, Michael, case study check, blog check.
You knew where I was right. You knew where
I'm like, we need all these things.
Michael, it looks like she's thrown back to you and she's giving you some assignments. So it's going back the other way, a little bit. And again, as usual, another thing that's on our plate to do. One of the things that I think is really important for us to say as we keep saying, 23, here are the trends, and it can become overwhelming for all of us as we're hearing all this stuff, is to think, especially on two areas, if you even have a product or a service, how simple the case study and the review component can be if you're intentional in your plans up front. And we're doing it all the time. We're asking discovery calls as we're trying to understand the client that we're taking on as an intake form or as we're introducing. What are you trying to accomplish? What are your pain points? Those are leading into the beginning of your case study and the beginning of the review. As you've been working on a couple of things, now this is what you did as far as the work was concerned and what went into it. And then here was the outcome. And that works in your benefit too, as you're walking through things with your client, because as you're walking through navigating through the end of it, you're keeping that touch point in mind and keeping them in center too. Remember, you said this is what you wanted to accomplish. A, B, and C helps to accomplish what you want your end goal to be. Oh, we're 5 steps in. Look at how much work we've done. We've done A, B, and C, and we're halfway there and only have E, F, and G to go to get to that final point. So they're engaged, they're understanding, they're keeping things at top of mind on the value of your partnership. And they'll also be able to relate that to someone, again, going to the advocate piece. Look at all the great things we did, and it didn't seem like work. It was easier for me to accomplish. Those are the things that we're looking for to come out of a review and a case study. And that tangible number, I think Michael or you, Tamara, said one of the things that in this blog post is talking about that infographic. It gives you that pop out of that quote, that number I gave earlier of that 50%. Or I went from this dollar figure and this many conversions from nothing to this. So it comes in your conversations that you're having or in the feedback that you're giving to the client. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. You just have to be intentional about your ask and from the beginning and what you want at the end. And it just kind of falls in place. And you just have to have somebody like us to help you to navigate through and say, here's how you do it. Now, let me give you 5 more steps of things that you have to do and put more on your plate. But essentially, the work is there. The work is there.
So definitely, I like this case study point because, as Michael said, I guess I'm a perfect fit for it, right? That being able to demonstrate to clients. And very recently, I did a post, wasn't even a full case study. So now that we're talking about this, I think I will definitely look into it. But I just did a simple post of a client responding to me saying that one of the things after our session, one of the recommendations I made was implemented. And they basically sent me a message saying, well, this is what happened, thanks a lot. And, I think, it's working. And in the post, I just basically said, guys, this is how I helped this client. This client was struggling with debt and needed to manage the debt a little bit better. We shifted some things around to create some space. So something to that effect. And I actually got people responding to that, people messaging and saying they saw themselves in that person. And they messaged and I remember distinctly, I got at least 2 discovery calls out of it, where people said, I read a post, I saw a post and you spoke about this person, or this person had a lot of debt, and I realized I need to talk to you. I was like, okay. Now, I didn't really market anything there. I was just expressing this is what happened. I didn't even go into a lot of detail to say what I did with the person. I just said, this was their problem. And, the person, I shared a snapshot of the person responding, how happy they were that the situation seems to be working out. And I got the response. And it was because people started to see themselves in that business owner that was struggling with debt. So definitely, I could see it as a place for especially people like me, service-based, technical, not quite sure what it is you're coming by me for. I think people like, what am I going to come by this person for? I think the case study definitely demonstrates what you're coming for because it shows this could be you, this could be you. But if you don't come by me, well, I don't know what to tell you, right? Those memes that go around. This could be you, but this could be us, but you choose to go other way. So, but I definitely see case studies as something that I for sure will have to um, dig deeper into because that is the way people buy my type of service, and that service based. Um, those service-based businesses, they want to see how the service has impacted the business. So I'm quite interesting that this point is, that's a trend. So I guess I'll have to be trendy and do some case studies.
Yes, you will have to. And as you said, that keyword there, case studies demonstrate. That's the real crux of the matter. They demonstrate competency, they demonstrate, serviceability and ability to provide a solution, right? So I know we're just right at the top of the hour, but I want to squeeze in one more point.
Go for it.
Not something we normally talk about. Tomorrow, I can always say, I think every point I read here, I can say you've talked about. Link building will help brands grow authority and search rankings. So I definitely wanted to touch on something under SEO. When sites with solid rankings begin to link with yours, Google crawlers note that your site might be credible and also have a solid authority in your space. This can then trigger your Google ranking to go up. I guess they meant, trick your Google ranking, but you're not tricking. The ultimately is the goal of link building or getting other sites to link to yours. Of 48% of SEO marketers that use backlinking and link building, 63% say it's their brand's most effective SEO tactic. And we've just gone through this with a client as well this year, haven't we?
Yeah, no, 100%. So link building, link building, link building. So important. And you want links to come from things with authority. So you want links to come from YouTube. You want links to come from LinkedIn. You want links to come from other brands that recognize you as an authority. So maybe you're working with someone, like Andrew, I know you've done work with the bank before, right? You've done trainings with the bank. So just imagine if you have a training and the bank has that on their website, and then they link back to your website saying, hey, virtual CFO or Andrew Ragu, this accounting training workshop, assets and liabilities, and that's linked back to your website. That's an idea of link building. So as businesses, we should also be thinking about, where can we get people to link back to us now? Because that's what tells Google that, oh, these people trust Andrea on the web. And if these people trust Andrea on the web, then I can trust Andrea on the web. Links from things like banks, from education.edu.org, the big businesses are the ones that are super, super valuable. But
Professional associations as well, right?
association,
Chambers of commerce, things like that.
exactly. So all those things that things that you may be already a part of, how can you get them to link back to you? And having those conversations, right? It should be a part of your marketing. Be like, hey, if you're talking to someone there and you're doing something, be like, hey, could you link back to my website? And here's how I would like you to link. So you can have that as a part of your strategy, and you can use it as much as possible. Ask for the link back. Sometimes a lot of people aren't asking for the link back, so you could be really different and stand out from everybody else. But ask for the link back is something that definitely helps you. And then there are directories that you can link back to from as well too, right? So if you have an article that you put somewhere, you want to be able to link back to yourself. And also if you have YouTube videos, right? So if you have a YouTube channel, for instance, you want to link back to your website from YouTube, because YouTube itself is an authority. And so that YouTube link back to your website also gives you some credibility there. So link building doesn't need to be hard, and it could become something that you simply just ask for the link, and then you send them the way you want them to link. So that's a big part of SEO. It's something that all the SEO experts know about, and it's something that we work on all the time. So we have been working with a customer, and doing that, right? Linking back from LinkedIn, linking back from their podcasts, because all those things really show great authority. And it's really easy once you put it into your talk track, and ask people to do it. 9 times out of 10 times, they are willing to do it.
And Andrea, as seen on our TV star that we have in here, that's a great authority for you in your backyard, that you're linking back to that TV station. So I hope you do that as well. It's, again, like we said earlier, some of these things are just right in front of our face, but they're hiding in plain sight, that we are not paying attention to, that we could easily acclimate to and incorporate into our daily world if we're just intentional about it. As we're talking about this, I'm thinking about a couple of things that I already have that I've neglected to link back or to even talk about and incorporate, that could just make things work a lot easier for my website and to help it with organic ranking. And I've just been asleep at the wheel and need to take a step back instead of working in the business, work on the business and to move some of that a bit forward. So as we said all the time in this space, we're all, trying to help our businesses move forward, and we're learning from a lot of these things. We're really great and experts in a lot of the spaces, but some of these things we're infancy stages for a bunch of us, that we're helping each other to move forward in the space. And so I'm hoping everybody's embracing this as well and understanding that you too are us, and that we're moving this forward. And sometimes we're leaning in and we're participants more than more than we are the people on this show giving the advice. We're like, oh, that's a good one. I should do that. Let me write another note. And typically in this space, Michael will give us 2 or 3 things to do. And then don't forget, Tamara always, once we get offline, she's always giving us a long list of things to do. So it's the truth. It's the truth. We do.
I think this whole show will become our homework.
It is going to become your homework, the entire show. All right. Well, man, so we have made it to the end of the show. Mike, this was awesome. I love these points. I think, they give us some real perspective as we move into 2023. We got a lot of homework, and hopefully you got some homework as well, too, as you think about your plan for 2023. So, oh, man, so sad. This is our last show for this season, but that's okay. We'll be back in 2023, and we'll be talking to you about your business in digital. Everything that we've talked about in this year, I want you to go back and take a look. If you have some time over the holidays, go back and take a look at the shows, because they are super helpful and they can really help you think about how to move your business into digital. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to be really successful when you're doing digital activities, and make sure that it really connects back to your goals. It helps you to get to that money in the bank. It really moves you beyond those likes and follows. So I'm going to pass it over to Michelle and the rest of the team to introduce themselves, tell you who they are, and to also wish you happy holidays. And then we'll get out of here. Go for it, Michelle.
I just can't believe this year has flown by so quickly for us. It has just been an amazing time. And thank you to our community who have, if you're new to us, thank you for joining. We look forward to seeing you in 2023. For those that have moved from us from where we started in Clubhouse and followed us and joined us and then many other platforms, thank you. We have been evolving over the course of the year and want to make sure that we're bringing valuable things to you so that you may help your business to set yourself apart, find your lanyard, and move your business forward in a sustainable and consistent way. I am Michelle Gordon with Lanyard Digital. Please go back and listen. All of the shows can stand alone, but there's a common thread that we have through each one of them, and continue to serve you in that way as we move forward into 2023. Happy holidays. Thank you for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you when we flip the calendar to 23.
All right. So all what Michelle said. Thank you to everyone for joining us on this show in 2022. So excited. I'm so happy that I did it, and I'm so excited to see where we could take it in 23, and very excited to continue sharing all our insights with our audience. We look forward to seeing you in 2023. You can find me here on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under ATR Solutions, and my recently launched site, which is still in a work in progress, but your virtual CFO, www.yourvirtualcfonow.com. You can also check me out there as I start to build my website and I start to put out my information. Have a great holiday season, guys, and we look forward to seeing you next year.
Absolute pleasure this season being here. I know Tamara had to kind of bend my rubber arm a little bit to get me on, so I'll admit that. Glad that everybody enjoyed the Bridgerton experience this morning. So definitely looking forward. Join us in the new year. We're really here to help you understand how digital moves your business forward, how it's an ongoing process. There's no one and done in digital, but there's certainly a way that you can keep operating for benefit and for ultimately for a good bottom line, right? So thanks for joining us. I'm Michael Wilshire. You can always reach me at michael@monovandigital.com and find me everywhere Monovan Digital is. Have a great season.
Oh man, oh, it's always so sad when we're saying goodbye. No, guys, this has been super awesome. Thank you for everyone that has listened to us, that has watched the show. We get so much feedback and we really love that. We want to hear more from you. We want to help you translate your business into digital. We want to move you beyond those likes and follows. We understand that navigating digital cannot be easy, right? There's so many things you have to do with your business. And this is just an additional thing. So that's why we're here to support you. We're showing up every Monday and Wednesday to talk about your business in digital and helping you to really translate, get to those goals, get to that money in the bank. So I want to wish you all the best for 2023. Make sure and do your performance reviews, look back at the numbers, do everything that you need to do so that you are ready for 2023 to start Q1 and Q2 and get the ball rolling. We'll be here with you in 2023 again to guide you through that. So I am Tamara Monlouis, and thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you. We appreciate the community. We appreciate all the fans and followers that we're building. And we'll be here to give you that great information. So have a great holiday. Take care, guys. Bye.